The moment Marcus heard the crash of a glass and the sharp, embarrassed laugh that followed, he looked up from the corner booth and felt the room tilt. Because the woman standing in the middle of that upscale restaurant looked exactly like someone who didn't belong there, not because of her elegance or power, but because she looked like someone about to break. He hadn't planned to interfere. He was just a black single dad who'd promised his daughter he'd bring home leftovers from a fancy place, sitting there waiting for his takeout order after a long shift driving for a private car service. But when he saw the man across from her sneer and lean back with entitlement, something old and protective rose in Marcus's chest, something that reminded him of all the times he'd wished someone would step in for him. The man's voice carried just enough for Marcus to hear, condescending jokes, thinly veiled insults, the kind that cut deeper because they were wrapped in smiles. The woman tried to laugh it off, smoothing her dress, apologizing for the spilled wine as if it were her fault. Marcus stood before he could talk himself out of it. He walked over, calm and steady, and said, "Hey, sorry I'm late," placing a gentle hand on her chair like it had always belonged there. The man blinked, confused. "Who are you?" Marcus smiled, not cocky, just certain. "I'm her ride. And she's done here." The woman looked up at him, startled, eyes wide, then something softened. She played along instantly, standing, grabbing her purse, murmuring thanks that sounded far too real. Outside, the cool air hit them both, and she laughed, shaky and relieved, then surprised him by hugging him tightly like she'd known him for years. "You didn't have to do that," she said, voice thick. Marcus shrugged. "Yeah, I did." They stood there a moment longer than necessary. She introduced herself as Claire. No last name. He didn't offer his story either, just said he hoped she got home safe. As he walked away, he felt something tug at him, not attraction exactly, but recognition. He didn't know she was the CEO of a billion-dollar company. He didn't know that she'd noticed the wear on his shoes, the quiet dignity in his posture, the way his eyes softened when he talked about picking up food for his daughter. All he knew was that when he got home and set the bag on the table, his daughter Lila looked up at him and said, "Daddy, you look happy," and for the first time in a long while, he realized she was right. Over the next few weeks, Marcus's life continued in its familiar rhythm: early mornings, school drop-offs, late nights, and the constant balancing act of being enough for his child while feeling like the world expected him to be less. Then the calls started. A private number. A woman asking if he was available for a ride. Same voice. Claire. She booked him again and again, always polite, always curious, asking about Lila, listening when he spoke like his words mattered. He never asked what she did for a living. He didn't need to. What mattered was the way she laughed when he told stories, the way she grew quiet when he spoke about his wife's passing, the way she never treated him like he was invisible. Slowly, unknowingly, something began to grow between them, rooted not in rescue, but in respect. The day Marcus found himself standing in the glass and steel lobby of one of the most powerful companies in the city, he felt his confidence waver for the first time, because he finally understood just how far apart their worlds really were. It happened by accident. A last-minute booking. A security desk that stiffened when he gave his name. And then the doors opened, and Claire stepped out in a tailored suit, commanding the room with quiet authority, board members trailing behind her. Like planets around a sun. She froze when she saw him. Not with embarrassment, fear. Later, in the car, she finally told him the truth. She was the CEO. The date he'd saved her from. A strategic alliance gone wrong. The reason she'd kept her identity hidden. Because she was tired of people loving her position instead of her. Marcus listened, jaw tight, not angry but hurt. "You could have told me," he said softly. "I liked you anyway." Claire's eyes filled. "I was scared," she admitted. "Because I liked you too. And you're the first man who's ever looked at me like I'm just a person." The challenge wasn't just the difference in wealth or status, it was the weight of the world pressing in on them. Rumors started. Judgment followed. Marcus overheard whispers about the driver, saw the way people looked at him like he didn't belong beside her. Old doubts crept in, telling him he was setting his daughter up for heartbreak. When he tried to pull away, Claire didn't chase him with money or promises. She showed up at his modest home, sat at his kitchen table, and listened to Lila talk about school like it was the most important meeting she'd ever attend. "I don't need you to be anything other than who you are," Claire told him that night. "And I don't want to be admired." I want to be chosen. The resolution didn't come in a dramatic gesture, but in a quiet decision. Marcus realized the strength he'd been teaching his daughter wasn't about staying small to survive, it was about standing tall enough to love fully. He chose to believe he was worthy. Months later, as Marcus watched Claire cheer in the front row of Lila's school play, no one saw a CEO or a driver. They saw a family. And the story that began with a terrible date ended with a powerful truth. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't saving someone from a moment, but letting yourself be loved without pretending you don't deserve it.